I love Oblivion. It was, to me, the perfect fantasy RPG. Before it, my experience with RPGs was mostly Game Boy JRPGs and a little bit of Fable. But when Oblivion came along, it was the first game that I lost hundreds of hours of my life to. And with the remaster having recently arrived,
Knuckles, are you okay? It's been 4 weeks.
And I'm not the only one enjoying this game all these years later. Despite being much the same mess it was at release, the remaster has been seeing fantastic reviews and a consistent player number. So what exactly is this absolute mess of a game doing that I find so appealing even after almost 20 years? The music of Oblivion is by far one of its most lasting legacies, and I sure hope Daddy Bethesda lets me use it in this video. Booting up the game to be met with that iconic theme brings me back to being 15 years old, sitting in front of the CRT in my bedroom, exploring Cyrodiil for hours on end. It's pretty safe to say that the Elder Scrolls identity wouldn't quite be what it is without its music. Oblivion in particular having such staying power that it's still used in memes to this day. Man, the guy who made it is so talented. I wonder what else he's done. Before I get too into further details, let me give you a rundown of how Oblivion starts. You are the one from my dreams. My sons are dead. You alone must stand against the Prince of Destruction and his mortal servants. Take this amulet, find my heir, and close shut my jaws of oblivion. The first time stepping out of the sewers and into the land of Cyrodiil, it felt like nothing I'd ever experienced before. A vast expanse just waiting to be explored. Now, I know, it's 2025. The words open world light up the screen during a game announcement and the fucking crickets are silent because it might as well say, includes the color blues! But back in 2006, a truly open world was still a fairly ambitious concept. The idea that I could walk to every mountain, go into every cave, break into every home, and invade on every citizen's private moments. I know Morrowind came first, but I didn't play that one as a kid. It was old and crusty even when I was young. Oblivion was my first. My muse. No walls, no traveling to screens, just a wide open world for me to explore every nook and cranny of. Oh man, the guy I gotta talk to is in Coral. And fast travel. But for real, traveling through the hills of Cyrodiil, I'd find myself collecting flowers only to stop and watch the light pass over the lakes and the grass blowing in the wind, looking over the landscape to see a world dotted with caves, villages, and abandoned places, each housing their own stories to tell. Each major town, too, has a distinct identity. For example, Leyawiin lies on the border of the Argonian and Khajiit homelands and is thus mostly swampland. The dwellings of its poorer citizens resemble shacks, while the wealthy stay in reasonably lavish homes, most of these poor denizens belonging to Nirn's most downtrodden races. A place where racial tensions and inequality taint the very air.
I think Leyawiin would be better off if we removed all the dirt.
Whereas Anvil lies along the Gold Coast, an affluent port town with large, well-kept homes, ships resting at the docks, and a primarily imperial population. Yet despite these vast differences, every town hosts a fighters guild and a mages guild. These guilds are not simply a single location, but an organization spanning the continent, their influence made clear by their constant presence in each and every town you visit. Each town also holds a chapel, no matter its status, highlighting the importance and funding of religion by the Empire, that no matter the squalor one might live in, there's always a place to worship the Nine. The ruins and the caves you stumble into almost feel overwhelming at times, sprawling and labyrinthian. They're often filled with little more than goblins and a pittance of gold. Maybe there's nothing to be found at all. Or maybe you stumble into a tower built out of a sleeping wizard's dreams, or find a series of notes revealing an adventurer's final moments in the hiding place of their treasure. Or maybe you find a giant gate to hell that 40 hours in has become so commonplace you'll find yourself blasting through it like you're the goddamn Doomslayer. Thousands of little details come together to create a vast connected world where every location has a story, a history. It creates a world that feels alive. Right out of the gate, the Emperor gives you his amulet and tells you, go find his boy. And once you follow the main quest after you become the Archmage, the head of the Fighters Guild, and reach level 46, it becomes pretty clear that you are not the hero. You are a hero, yes, but Martin is the hero of the story, with you taking the role of the assistant to the regional chosen one. A good chunk of the game's guild questlines follow this same pattern. You join them as a nobody, and then for like half the missions, you're just the fucking spit boy.
It's you, the biggest specialist boy who's ever specialed. You're the chosen one, the only one who can save us. Let me clean your boots for you.
Hey, spit boy, go clean up that spit. Because you start at the bottom and have to work your way up, the sense of place and progression really hits. The guild members start to treat you differently, address you with more respect. And nowhere is this more notable than the arena, where you slaughter like just a ton of people. Frank, I don't know how this place is open so often with how many people die. Like, how do they keep... Anyway, you become Blue Team's #1 guy. This matters because it is a tangible reaction from the NPCs to your impact within these guilds. It makes the progression more engaging, the respect feel more earned. It builds a sort of relationship between you and the NPCs, even if that relationship is as simple as, I impressed this guy and now he likes me more.
What do you want from me, a hug?
Yes.
Much in the same vein that the world of Cyrodiil doesn't care about you until you give it a reason, the game doesn't really care if you understand some of its more hidden functions or not. Maybe you find an item called a Welkin Stone and have no clue what it does. That's full mana, baby. Beat an Oblivion Gate and get a fucking weird rock? That's some enchanted gear. In the Mages Guild, you can access spellmaking and enchanting, a whole new level to magic whose existence is only hinted at by passing NPCs' idle conversations. And man, a game telling me, hey, you can just make whatever spells you want, made me way more interested in trying out every school of magic just to see what kind of absolute fuckery I could get into. I legit spent like 2 hours getting my illusion to 100 so I could mess around with a spell that would paralyze an entire town for 5 seconds.
Fight! 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 Stop right there, criminal scum!
The same level of, why am I allowed to do this, can be achieved through several of the game's skills. Acrobatics, especially if fortified through magic, can yield insane results. Alchemy can achieve much of the same benefits of magic to anyone who's playing a non-mage. I wind up spending a good third of my playthroughs just collecting flowers to support my underground potion empire. The fact that a lot of these aspects are just sort of there, waiting for you to discover, to me makes the game world feel so much more immersive, despite how silly some of these systems are. By allowing the player to discover these features and play around with them through their own means, these systems feel like a part of the world that I discovered naturally, those discoveries opening up new opportunities and styles of play, new and immersive ways of interacting with the world that encourage the player to set their own goals. Oblivion's NPCs use something known as the Radiant AI system. In most RPGs at this point, if a character lived in a particular town or had a particular role, they'd just be there. They'd be in their shop or at their house, waiting for you, the player, to enrich their worthless lives. That's a good deal. Wait, no. The Radiant AI system changed that. The NPCs in Oblivion didn't give a shit about you or your needs. They had places to be, people to talk to. Each and every NPC had a dedicated schedule. Maybe they'd go to church at 2 p.m. every day, but not on Monday because they were hanging out at the bar. Maybe they'd work in the field from 2 to 4, but only if the weather was nice. The characters have opinions about others, yourself included, indicated by this little minigame I still don't understand after 20 years, so I just give everyone all my money so they'll please like me a little bit more, maybe?
Stop talking.
And if they do like you, they might be more willing to provide information on an important topic or give you better prices. And if they don't, they usually just get really racist.
What is it, pond scum?
The NPCs actively converse, greeting you and each other, discussing local rumors and recent events. Some NPCs even have criminal tendencies, stealing from one another or getting into fights, and then inevitably being calmly arrested by the guards. Despite each town being fairly sparsely populated, the way these interactions play out really make the towns and villages feel alive. They're also all voiced by like 11 people in the original game. God, I mean, look at how good this is.
Well met, Mr. Heavy Armor.
So long.
Good day.
Well met.
By Azura, by Azura, by Azura!
Have you seen Armand Kristoff? Don't worry. We'll get him.
It's good. It's still good. I like it. Jokes aside, this system, especially back in 2006, really brought Cyrodiil to life. I used to spend hours just following random NPCs to see where they went, or who they'd talk to, consistently blown away by the fact that each and every one of them had their own schedule. I grew attached to specific, completely unimportant NPCs. Shout out to my boy Bighead, #Fork20, and would make sure to visit them and learn their schedules. And I can't really think of any other game that I've done that in. Now, the combat in Oblivion has always been something special. And if you get tired of that, you can always rely on your trusty spells. Or perhaps you're more of a Rudy Tooty pull back and shooty. It's so bad. I love it. I really do. It's like every combat encounter is just a bunch of screaming children with sticks running around beating the shit out of each other, but with a fucking NVIDIA RTX filter slapped over it. Now, as much as I love this game, it is a Bethesda title, and that means it's buggy. Some of these bugs can be charming, like the duplication glitch, or when a spell sends an enemy flying into the air like a deflating balloon, or these fellas that just sorta jiggle. Even things like guards chasing you pretty much literally forever almost turns the game into a horror experience, which is annoying but kind of fun in a way.
Stop right there!
But for as fun as some of these bugs are, many of them are not great. Pretty much every player will encounter issues that are game-breaking, soft locks, visual glitches, or just random crashes. Hell, while I was getting half the footage for this video, the game kept having these micro freezes and huge FPS drops on the PS5, which rendered a lot of what I recorded unusable. Whether or not these issues will be fixed with further updates to the remaster, we're yet to see. Though, truthfully, none of this has stopped me from booting up the game almost every day. Have you ever watched a movie that was so cheesy but just had so much heart to it that you didn't really care that you could see the obvious fish wire, or that the acting was so over the top that you had to pause the movie just to laugh?
Oh my God!
Oblivion feels a lot like that to me. Despite its flaws, it really immerses me and pulls me in. And I think the best way that I can put it is that it's like a playable 80s fantasy movie, like I'm inside the never-ending story or Crawl. Films that have such a human touch to them that even though you can clearly tell it's a set, the creativity and the heart just shines through. You can see the flaws, but the stories being told and the methods to tell them, they feel so alive. And much like in those, there's an overarching tone of a world-ending threat. The Oblivion Crisis, a dark force that threatens the land and bathes the world in a fiery glow, a presence that's felt with each and every step. And yet, despite this, the adventure is still whimsical and colorful, the characters and the action is goofy and fun. Charmingly bad is a good way to put it. Like, it's cheesy, it's got bad combat, it feels like it's held together with toothpicks, and in the original game the models looked like they were little potato babies. Every NPC was voiced by like one of 11 people. But it was this cheesiness that gave the game its distinct identity. The line reads were stunted and awkward, but they were memorable. The NPCs constantly talking over each other or getting stuck in strange places. It was an earnest attempt at something huge, limited by the technology of its time, that all came together into something that was kind of a mess, but a mess that worked in the areas it needed to, while all the little flaws gave the game a personality that I don't think any other game has quite captured. In both of its forms, Oblivion is a fascinating case of a beautiful mess. There's so many things the game does right, and so many it does laughably poorly. A lot of them feel like they should really lessen the experience, but they just don't. Many of these perceived flaws are things players were excited to see. They were what gave Oblivion its character. They're part of what makes it worth revisiting all these years later. As some of you might know, I don't make videos quickly. I often find myself falling into, oh god, this one isn't perfect, it's not meaningful. I'll double take on a joke or a specific point even after having several people okay the script, and I'll ask myself if it's good enough. This quest for perfection is something that I think holds a lot of us back. This sense that we can't produce something up to our own standards, that we shouldn't bother if it isn't perfect. Maybe that prevents us from starting, or it pushes us to abandon our work halfway through. But I have to remember that Oblivion exists. That so much of what I love about it are the things that on paper shouldn't work. That despite all its issues, I wouldn't change much about it, aside from the game-breaking stuff. And I think that maybe I have to be willing to give that same forgiveness to my own work. That it's okay for it to be flawed, because maybe it'll wind up being somebody's favorite. But it'll never be that if I never make it in the first place, because it wasn't perfect. Sometimes it's important to step back, take a breath, and remember, if your favorite game doesn't have to be perfect to be your favorite, then it's okay for you not to be perfect too. Thanks for watching. Oh, fuck, did the video crash again?